The story continues with Kane waking up in bed, where Sylvia bursts into the room, apologizing for forgetting to wake him up. It dawns on Kane that today is the day of his academy entrance exams. Despite Sylvia's apologies, Kane assures her that he won't be late. Making his way outside, he utilizes a teleportation spell to instantly arrive at the academy. Upon checking in for the exam, he is provided with directions to his designated room. However, as he approaches, he realizes that something is amiss. None of the names on the list seem familiar to him. Puzzled, he wonders if his friends Telestia and Silk are taking the exam in a different room. The examiner enters the room and announces that they have a time limit of 2 hours to complete the test, emphasizing the consequences of cheating, which would result in immediate removal. As the test commences, it primarily focuses on basic math and writing skills, tasks that Kane finds relatively simple due to his knowledge from his previous life. During the test, the examiner notices Kane appearing relaxed, but he confidently states that he has already finished, surprising her since only 30 minutes have passed. Once the written test concludes, the participants are informed that they will proceed to the magic assessment, which fills Kane with excitement. They gather in the courtyard, where the examiner instructs them to unleash their most powerful spell at a designated target. Kane ponders whether it is permissible to unleash his full power, to which the examiner assures him that the area is protected by a defensive barrier, allowing him to utilize any magic he desires. As the scene unfolds, a boy begins chanting and conjures a fireball, but it turns out to be disappointingly weak, much to Kane's surprise. Following suit, another student demonstrates a similar lack of power, leading Kane to realize that this level of magical proficiency is typical for most 12-year-olds. Although he initially planned to unleash his Inferno spell, he quickly reconsiders, understanding the potential danger it poses. When it is finally his turn, Kane conjures a fireball that emits a brilliant blue hue, channeling his energy into a fire bullet spell. However, the spell unexpectedly triggers a massive explosion, causing extensive damage and blasting through the wall. Kane himself is bewildered because he had only utilized a beginner-level spell. The examiner, astonished by the spectacle before her, struggles to believe what she has witnessed. Kane attempts to explain that it was a mere basic spell, but the examiner struggles to comprehend how such a seemingly simple spell could possess such tremendous power. She swiftly directs Kane to proceed with the swordsmanship exam, prompting them to relocate to another section of the academy. Upon arrival, the examiner introduces a special guest, a rank adventurer who will assist in evaluating the candidates. Kane is astonished to see Claude, wondering about his presence. Kane clarifies that he is participating in the entrance exam. Claude expresses his desire to be Kane's opponent, but Kane hesitates to accept. Nevertheless, the examiner insists that Claude, being the highest-ranked adventurer, cannot be declined. The two warriors prepare themselves for combat, and Claude instructs Kane to demonstrate his abilities. Kane believes that Claude, being a ranked, must possess considerable strength. Thus, he activates his boost skill and initiates his attack. The ensuing exchange of blows leaves the onlookers astounded by the speed at which the two combatants move. Impressed by Kane's prowess, Claude acknowledges that Kane is stronger than the other examinees. However, Kane urges Claude to take it easy, reminding him that it is merely a test. Despite this, Claude's excitement leads him to employ his own boost skill, intensifying their movements even further. Nonetheless, their intense fight comes to an abrupt halt as the examiner intervenes, admonishing them for frightening the other candidates. Claude acknowledges that their sparring session got a bit out of hand and suggests that they should go on a quest together in the future. However, Kane is hesitant and uncertain if it's a wise decision. The examiner, having seen enough, concludes the evaluation and instructs Kane to return home and await the results. Kane makes his way back home, where Sylvia anxiously awaits, wondering how he fared in the exam. Kane assures her that everything went well, but Sylvia's excitement prompts her to suggest throwing a celebration. Kane, however, believes it's too early to celebrate, although his growling stomach betrays his hunger. Sylvia rushes off to the palace to prepare some food for him. After a while, Kane finds himself being questioned by the king regarding the extensive damage caused during the exam. Kane explains that he was permitted to use his full power due to the presence of a protective barrier. Despite only employing beginner-level magic instead of his more advanced intermediate and emperor-level magic, the repercussions were still catastrophic. The king expresses surprise at Kane's ability to wield emperor-level magic but warns him against practicing it anywhere, as the consequences on the surroundings would be dire. The king proceeds to inquire about the location of Kane's exam, as Telestia mentioned not seeing him there. Kane explains that he checked in at the south entrance and was directed to his assigned room. Upon hearing this, the king questions the existence of a north and south entrance at the academy, causing Kane to realize his mistake. He accidentally took the exam with the commoners instead of the nobles, who used the north entrance. The Duke chimes in, mentioning that this incident even caused a commotion with the headmaster. In a flashback, the headmaster expresses concern over releasing the results due to a commoner achieving a perfect score on the written exam, causing extensive damage to the training area and engaging in combat on par with a ranked adventurer. However, the Duke laughs upon hearing this, recognizing that it could only be Kane. He instructs the headmaster to release the results without hesitation. At the academy, the results are unveiled, and Kane eagerly searches for his name. Silk calls out to him, announcing that he secured the top spot in the class, with Telestia in second place and herself in third. She playfully teases Kane about the havoc he caused and mentions Telestia's disappointment when she didn't spot him during the exam, making Kane worry that he might be in trouble. Suddenly, Kane catches sight of his sister Rain, who is guiding other students. She rushes over to him, brimming with joy at seeing him. Impressed by his achievement, she wishes him luck for his upcoming speech, explaining that it's a tradition for the top-scoring student to deliver a speech at the entrance ceremony. Kane expresses a wish for Telestia to take on that role instead, but Rain asserts that he doesn't have a choice. Returning home, Kane is met with Sylvia's elation upon learning that he secured the top position. She insists on celebrating and promises to prepare enough food to feed 100 people. Sylvia rushes off, and although Kane considers her enthusiasm excessive, he believes it's a wonderful reason to be happy. On the day of the entrance ceremony, Kane notices his parents in the audience, showing their support. He is accompanied by Estia and Silk, who instantly charm as they find him adorable in his uniform. As the ceremony commences, the male students become envious, wondering who Kane is and feeling jealous that he is seated between the two girls. Meanwhile, the girls find him endearing. When the headmaster calls Kane to deliver his speech, he introduces himself and acknowledges his exam mix-up. However, he expresses his enthusiasm for forging friendships with everyone, hoping for a harmonious and cooperative atmosphere among the students. The crowd erupts in cheers, showing their support and acceptance. Later, the king emerges to congratulate all the students, making special mention of certain unique individuals. Kane senses a subtle warning from the king, leaving him with a sense of caution. As they proceed to their first class, their homeroom teacher, Elka, introduces herself. She encourages them to contemplate their future and choose their desired areas of study. Kane expresses his inclination towards adventuring, but the girls object. Celestia suggests that, as Kane already holds the title of Baron, it would be beneficial for him to gain further knowledge about being a noble. While the Kane becomes agitated, Silk interjects, suggesting that Kane can select multiple courses of study. Kane makes the decision to pursue studies in nobility, adventuring, and magic. Curious about the choices of his classmates, he asks Telestia about her selection of nobility and internal affairs. She reveals her intention to assist him in managing his domain in the future. Silk, on the other hand, decides to focus on nobility and commerce, expressing her desire to be of value to him in the future. As they leave the classroom, the trio contemplates their chosen paths. While walking, Kane notices a group of bullies targeting a girl. Recognizing her as Parma from the item shop due to her distinctive ear, Kane realizes she is being harassed by Habit and his cronies. The bullies taunt Parma, belittling her for being a beast and claiming that she doesn't belong among nobles. Kane intervenes, asserting that nobles and commoners are equals within the school. Habit remains defiant at first, but his demeanor changes when he realizes he is confronting Kane, recalling their previous encounter. Confused by Kane's decision to support a commoner despite his own noble status, Habit's companions question his motives. Kane clarifies that he is merely standing up for his friend. In a desperate attempt to assert his dominance, Habit threatens to report Parma's family to his father, hoping to ruin their lives. However, the arrival of the girls interrupts the confrontation, compelling the boys to kneel and apologize. They quickly retreat, leaving Parma to express her gratitude to Kane for his intervention. However, the girls suddenly become curious about Kane's relationship with Parma, causing him to kneel as they engage in a conversation with her. Feeling a sense of unease, he wonders about their intentions. Eventually, they form an alliance, and just as Kane starts to feel overwhelmed, he hears a mysterious voice urging him to visit the library. Intrigued, Kane decides to explore the library, but as he opens the door, he finds himself transported to another space, a room where he encounters a man who offers him a cup of coffee. Confused and cautious, Kane demands to know the man's identity and questions the presence of coffee in this world. The man reveals that he has been waiting for him, addressing him as Shina Kazuya, his name from his previous life. Assuring Kane that the coffee is not poisoned, he extends the invitation to try it. With hesitation, Kane decides to take a sip, savoring the taste of coffee after a 9-year. This brings an end to our episode. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe our channel, aniexplainer.